Hey, welcome to Broken World Entertainment and our review for episode 4 of She-Hulk. So, the episode is probably the longest out of them. It's 26 minutes long in total, taking out the previously on and the end credits scene. The actual episode is 26 minutes long. So we start off this episode at a magic show with a guy called Donny Blaze. You know, like Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider. So he's doing a magic show to a half-empty theatre. He's just like, he's levitating, but you can see the wire on his back. He's making fire out of his hands, but no one's buying it. They're all bored. There's an old guy behind the curtain. He's saying to him, do the thing, do the thing, do the thing. So he calls up someone from the audience. It's this girl who's with her friends, and she's pissed out of her mind. And for a show that's meant to be all, yeah, girls are great, and yeah, we stick together, they really make this one just an absolute nonce. So she comes up onto the stage, and he's making white roses into red roses for her, and he's saying all this shit. But he takes out one of the Doctor Strange splice rings. I think they're called splice rings. But he takes one of them out and puts it on his hand. And he asks her, what's your name? Now, when she explains her name, it's meant to be a joke. I don't get the joke. To start with, it's not funny anyway, but I don't get it either. If you do, write it in the comments, because it went over my head. She says her name is Madison, but it's spelt with 2 N's and a Y, but it's not what you think. Right. So he opens a portal behind her. The crowd loves it. It's like, wow. You see like it looks like a bit of a destroyed village or something. It's kind of hard to see. She looks into it and she's like, ew. Then we go immediately to Wong, and Wong is dancing. He's doing some weird dance. He's eating like a cookie or something. And you're like, what are you doing to Wong? Oh my god, this is so Wong what you're doing to him. Cheap joke, I know. But he's about to sit down, you realise he's about to watch The Sopranos. Portal opens up on the ceiling, Madison drops through. She's holding a heart. And he's like, who the hell are you? Where did you come from? She's like, I'm Madison. She drops the heart. And he's like, how did you get here? Where were you? She's like, I was at a magic show. The dude sent me to a village where there was goblins. Says to Wong, are you the Goblin King? He's like, no. He's like, how did you get here? And she's like, oh, I had to make a pact with a demon. Sign a non-disclosure agreement with him. She signed a non-disclosure agreement with a fucking demon. And just for 7 drops of her blood, he'd send her home. So that's how she ends up there. Wong immediately knows, Donny Blaze. He's at it again, type thing. She turns around and sees that he's about to watch Sopranos, spoils the episode for him by saying one of the characters is about to die, and he's like, you just ruined it. And she's like, I cried for a week. Then we go to actual Jen Walters, She-Hulk, but she's Jen, in her apartment. And she turns to the camera, straight away she breaks the fourth wall, and she says, oh, you look happy. I guess it's because you see Wong is back. And then they throw this in. Talk about the self-awareness that, oh yeah, people are going to hate our show. She looks to the camera and says, yeah, we're glad too. It's like Twitter armor for a week. In other words, we avoid criticism. Her dad shows up and he's got a shovel and a box. And she's like, hey, what's with all this? He bought her like pepper spray, a taser, all this type of stuff, because she got attacked last week. They're like, well, what's with the shovel? And he's like, you know, if we need to dig holes, and we'll leave it at that. So he's worried about her. She's like, you don't have to worry, I'm a Hulk. He's like, well, what did the cops say? He gets annoyed because she's like, yeah, I didn't tell the cops. And she's like, look, if it happens again, don't worry, I'll Hulk out and you'll get to use the shovel. It's like, oh, She-Hulk just condoned murdering and burying people. And she's a lawyer. So then we go to her as She-Hulk at work, setting up a Tinder profile. uh, at work. But she's not setting up a Tinder profile for She-Hulk, she's setting it up for Jen. Nikki comes in and is like, hey, your interview is on again. They turn on the TV and it's specifically the part where they're being asked, how did you come up with the name of She-Hulk? And keep that in mind because it's foreshadowing the end of the episode. Wong arrives and says he needs our help. And you kind of get that conversation that you saw in the trailer about the book of Ashanti. It's him explaining that I'm pretty sure he says Donny Blaze was training with them at one stage but left. So she's like, well, did he sign non-disclosure agreement? No. Did he sign, waivers? No. Did he agree to this? No. And she's like, we really no case. And he explains to her, look, he's doing cheap human magic. And I thought that was strange when he's like, human magic? It's like, Wong, you are human. It's so strange. You are human. But they're like, we need to do things by the book. And of course he's the book of Ashanti. She's like, no, the book of American law. And he's like, So they say, look, we'll go and speak with him. So they go and speak with him. And this is strange because the guy who seemed to be, the old guy who seemed to be Donny Blaze's like assistant or something, the guy behind the car, he's sitting at the desk. Well, Donny Blaze is standing beside him, but there's a big painting of him behind on the wall. Like, and it was like, wait, is this guy meant to be actually the magician or what? But everything Donny Blaze is saying, the other guy kind of just keeps repeating it, and Jen is like, or She-Hulk I should say, is like, are you just like his hyping him up? Are you like his hype man? So he keeps making things disappear, and they hand him a cease and desist order, and he makes that disappear, and they do another joke. He's like, what cease and order? And she goes, the one that's sticking out your shirt. And the old guy sitting beside him pushes it back in and goes, no, it isn't. He doesn't cease and desist, so they go to court. This is basically what the episode is, by the way. They go to court where they're trying to get him to stop using vat magic. His lawyer's argument is that it's his livelihood and there's no copyright and there's no law against him using it. And they're like, it's dangerous because he's opening up portals to, dangerous areas and stuff. And they say, the judge says, well, have you any witnesses? So Wong's like, oh no, we can't. And Jen is like, well, we kind of have to. So they open a portal and bring in Madison, who's clearly at a nightclub. And she's drunk again. She comes in, she's like, hey, Wongy. And she calls him bestie and stuff. And they're like, will you take out? And she's like, yeah. And they're like, you can't bring the drink in. She gives it to the court officer, and it's like, you can finish it, and blah blah blah. She sits down, starts saying like, yeah, I'll tell the truth and all this. They ask her what happened, says about being on the stage and he sent her the thing, explains all that crap again, and then she's like, yeah, it was like scary and stuff, and then it was fun again, but then it was spooky but in a fun way and something. That looks like, oh. So she can take a seat, and Donny Blaze starts doing tricks in the court to say like, look, it's my livelihood. And he's in a white suit and he smoke, and now he's in a black suit and all this, and he keeps doing it, and it starts to annoy the judge, and she's like, will you stop throwing smoke bombs? And they're like, look, it is his livelihood, we can't really stop it. And she's like, well, can you agree to put through a cease order right now until the trial? Because the judge says, look, we'll go to trial. Can we put through a cease order? And Donny Blaze woos the judge with a bunny. A goddamn bunny rabbit. And she's like, look at the cute bunny. No, we can't. It's his livelihood. So they're like, huh. Now we go to Jen in going on Tinder. That she sets up a Tinder page. By the way, she had a few dates as Jen with Tinder, but they're all just obnoxious dudes. And the last dude is like, he's not listening to her when she's like saying, like, yeah, I'm a She-Hulk and all this. And he's just like, yeah, great, whatever. He's even staring at other women walking past. Then the check comes, and of course, the two of them pick up bags and put their hands in. She's obviously waiting to see if he takes out his wallet, and he's doing the same. And they take out it at the same time. She took out the wallet, he took out his keys. He's like, oh, great, yeah, cheers, I had a great time. And leaves. So her dates as humans aren't going well. So after the court, she's there. Oh, by the way, she was in the bar with Nikki before she went on the date, and this just obnoxious dude comes on. And he's like, hey, I hate to see two sexy ladies on their own. All this, I want to buy you a drink. It's just like the stereotype. This is what they think all guys are. But Nikki swipes a load of things on her phone for Jen. Jen's like, what are you doing? She's like, trust me, you do this, then you get matches, and then you do the filter. Then she goes on the date. So after the court, we have her. And by the way, Nikki said to her, why don't you set up one for She-Hulk? And she doesn't want it. But now she does. And you get that scene from the trailer where she's like, I'm not proud of this. That was actually her as She-Hulk setting up She-Hulk's Tinder. She literally only puts the phone down and like 100 messages come through for matches. She goes on a bunch of dates then, and almost all of them are just like idiots. You know, the first dude is like, how much can you bench? And she's like, a literal ton with one hand. He's like, yeah, I done 600 pounds today. And like, don't feel it. And he shuts up now. The next one's this stupid, meant to be like a French director, and he's like, I just actually directed a movie about a lawyer and all this. And she gets to the next one, and she seems bored at this stage. She's like, okay, so what do you do? And he's like, oh, I'm in medicine or something. She's like, oh, like expecting him to say like he's a sales rep for some drugs or something. He's like, no, I'm a pediatric thing. She's like, oh. So this is going, and this is the guy who you see in the trailer where she's like, oh, let's get them fries to go. He is this super kind of feminine dude, because he's all like, I don't want to talk about me. I want to hear all about you and all this kind of, he's just so like, oh, jeez. While that's happening, we go back to Donny Blaze, and he's on stage, and he's doing the thing again where he brings up, there's a new girl on the stage, and he opens up a port, and he's like, close your eyes, and she looks behind him, and he's like, no, or she's like, no, I saw a friend was here last week or something, and saw you send the other girl, and it was like a Kip you sent her to, which is a shithole. I'm not doing it. And he's like, fine. So he closes, so he opens another portal, or does this little trick, and I'm assuming it's a dove, appears in his hand. They're all like, ooh, ah. It flies around, lands on her hand, drops an egg, flies off, and the egg hatches, and it's a weird little goblin demon thing. So they're like, they panic a bit, and they're like, oh, that thing's weird. So he's like, don't worry, I'll sort this out. He opens another portal on the ground, and it looks like hell or something, and he gets this thing and he kicks it in to the portal, but the portal doesn't close, and it comes back out with hundreds of other ones, and they just start causing mayhem. So he opens another portal and goes to Wong, who once again is about to watch Sopranos, or is watching Sopranos. He comes through and says, Wong, please, you gotta help me. He's like, why would it help you? And sees the demons. And so Wong's like, sure. Goes through. He opens a portal to She-Hulk. She's now at home with the dude. She brought him home. Spilt wine on him. Hides his shirt. Portal opens up. Wong keeps trying to phone her and she's ignoring the phone. And the dude is still all like, oh, I want to know everything about you. And portal opens up. Wong's like, I need your help. And she's like, oh, fine, I'll be right back. Goes in, starts beating the hell out of all the little demons. They get rid of all the demons. She comes back through the portal, lands on top of the dude, picks him up, carries him off to the bedroom. She's covered in goo, by the way. Carries him into the bedroom. The next morning, though, they wake up. She's Jen again, making juice. The guy walks in and is like, who are you? She's like, Jen. He's like, who? And she goes, oh, I'm She-Hulk. I'm just Jen now, just... And he's not into it. He's like, oh, yeah, I gotta go. And she's like, what? Oh. So the dude leaves. So obviously he was only there for She-Hulk, not her. Another knock on the door and she thinks it's him again. Opens the door. It's this guy with a package. She's like, yeah, I know who you are. Like, what you do. You're serving me. She's getting sued for copyright of the name She-Hulk. Tatiana is suing her because apparently she came up with the name of She-Hulk and copyrighted it. See, remember the start of the episode with the interview they showed again was, how did you come up with She-Hulk? So she's getting sued for that. That's the end of the episode. The post-credit scene is just Wong and Madison sitting about to watch Sopranos again, and her listing all these drinks for what has Wong tried. And he's like, yeah, and he says the worst he tried was vodka and something milk. I can't remember. And she's like, have you still got some of that? And he's like, yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, you're free. What's your favorite drink? And he's like, gin and tonic. And they're like, yeah. And that's the end of the episode. So, another stupid episode. Wong was good. I do like Wong, so they are right about people liking Wong, so that's fine. Some of the CG actually on She-Hulk wasn't actually too bad in this episode, believe it or not. Near the end, some of it, a lot of it was still terrible. Still that computer, but there was parts where it actually didn't look too bad. But other than that, nothing happened again, so we'll see what happens next week. I guess it's going to be a courtroom episode with Titania. So, until then, cheers. Catch you in the next one.